what we want to talk about today is 4 prospects that could make their NHL debuts this season. We saw 5 players make their NHL debut with the Penguins last year. Horwat, if I asked you to name those 5, do you think you'd be able to do it?
The 5. I'd get Nate Claremont out of the way easy.
Oh, okay. All right. I was wondering if you'd get Nate Claremont. He played in 1 game last year for the Penguins.
You got to get the fun, hard ones out of the way. So then there was Rutger McGroarty, Ville Koivunen. Boku Imama already played. Without looking at the roster, I'm not going to look at my screen. And the rest are not going to come to you. The defenseman, Owen Pickering.
Yep.
Oh, and Joel Blomqvist.
I was about to say, you're heading in the right direction going away from forwards there. But yeah, there you go. All 5. Rutger McGroarty, Ville Koivunen, Owen Pickering. You got Nathan Claremont. That was the one I was like, we might be here for a minute if I just let him try to stew on Nathan Claremont. But you got him right away. And then, of course, goaltender Joel Blomqvist. Now, there are 4 players that I think realistically could make their NHL debuts this season. Some of them I could see being along the lines of Koivunen and McGroarty last year, where, hey, post-deadline, they come up and they get a run. Some of them, it might just be, hey, the chips have fallen in a certain direction, and you might get a game or 2 here or there throughout the season. Now, one player that I think fits the mold of the Koivunen-McGroarty late season, gets a stretch of games, is Tristan Broz. 37 points in his first full professional season last year with the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins, but his year really was broken into 2 parts. It was pre-mono and post-mono, because not only did he miss a month because of that illness, but when you come back from that, you're not the same type of player. It halts all of your momentum. And let's not forget how good he was in the early portion of last year for Wilkes-Barre. So there was a chance that if he had stayed healthy and had continued that momentum, then he might have made his NHL debut last year. I'm not saying he would have gotten the 8-9 game sample size that guys like Koivunen and McGroarty got, but I think he would have at the very least potentially gotten an opportunity to make his debut. So I think that he's somebody that almost guaranteed will make his debut this year. The question becomes, how much do we see of him and when do we see it? I think if you're going to see more than a 2-3 games filling in for some injuries, it's going to be late in the season.
Yeah, and I like that choice a lot too. That's a name that I probably would have come up with because he did just have a solid first professional season, and the Penguins are getting to that point where Tristan Broz is 22. It's time to get him acclimated to the higher levels. I get that they want to wait for everyone to be fully ready, but at the same time, you kind of got to throw people in and get their sea legs in at some point. And this is the perfect year to do it for Tristan Broz. You'll still want to overcook him. That's part of it. You don't want to over-season him at the AHL level. I don't want to say like they did with Sam Poulin, but you want to make sure that they do have that push and that they can get there, and you don't want to just kind of plateau them. You don't want to plateau them at the AHL level. You want to see if they can continue progressing.
Yeah, you don't want to make them AHL plus players that are too good for the AHL and yet not quite good enough for the NHL, or at the very least in the eyes of the organization. It's a guy like Jesse Puljujärvi last year. He had nothing left to he shouldn't be playing at the AHL level. He really shouldn't.
He shouldn't be in Europe
he shouldn't be in Europe right now. But at the same time, the Penguins just couldn't find a spot for him on the roster last year at the NHL level. So I agree with you on Tristan Broz. Now, it is interesting because Kyle Dubas went on the PDO cast with Dmitry Filipovich, I believe, is the host there. But he did mention, hey, we are kind of looking to do the same thing we did with the Marlies back in 2015, 2016, where we kept that young group together. We allowed them to learn how to win as a unit and as a team before we started calling them up. So maybe they saw what happened last year where Wilkes-Barre had a lot of momentum. They did call up Koivunen and McGroarty. And then, of course, when they went back down, McGroarty was injured. He didn't get to play because he got hurt in his stint up at the NHL level. And it just messed with the chemistry a little too much. And Wilkes-Barre got bounced in the first round once again. So maybe because of that, we see less of these players get those opportunities this particular season because they want to keep that group together. They want that group to build together. But I do think Broz is an outlier in that. I think that you could look at a lot of those players and say, hey, you know, it makes sense that they're going to have the Spezza model where they're not coming up until they're fully cooked. We're not bringing anybody up just for, you know, hey, let's see if it works. Okay, I guess we have to send them down. But I think Broz kind of breaks the mold a little bit in that. And somebody who's been breaking the mold a lot in his career is Avery Hayes. And I don't think a lot of people have talked about Avery Hayes this year because he has been a guy who, once the summer began, the big names are the ones everybody talked about. Koivunen, McGroarty, oh, what happens with those guys? People have talked about, obviously, the 13 draft picks that came in over the last month. But Avery Hayes has been a tremendous story in the Penguins minor leagues over the past couple of years. An undrafted forward signed with Wilkes-Barre Scranton ahead of the 23-24 season and earned his way to an NHL contract last year, scoring 23 goals in 60 games. I think if he's able to continue to earn it, which again, he's proven over his first 2 years that is what he is coming in here to do, is just earn every chance he gets. I think that he could become an injury replacement if he's the hot hand in the AHL. We saw that a lot under Mike Sullivan. It wasn't necessarily the top name that always got called up whenever they had an opportunity for 2 or 3 games. It was who is playing the best right now. And Avery Hayes, now that he has an NHL contract in tow, might be able to be that guy if he's able to have the hot hand at the right time this season.
It's another good option. I feel like it's a little less likely, but absolutely, if he is able to ride a hot hand and then find the right opportunity at the right time, by all means, I'm with you on that one. It's just there is just a lot to play through, and I think he's one of those players that can do it. He can play through it. He's quickly taken steps above guys like Sam Poulin, above maybe even above Tristan Broz if the year goes well, above a bunch of other names. And then an interesting one, Valtteri Pustinen's still floating around down there. Like there's a lot of names to leapfrog. But if he finds the right rhythm, he's absolutely one that can leapfrog everyone.
Now, are there any other forwards that you see down there that could be like a sneaky name that jumps up?
No, because like I said, there are too many names to leapfrog for these guys.
Yeah.
I could see, like I said before, I could see Harvey Pinard getting an NHL shot. Excuse me. We know Unikopinen's going to be around as always. Same with Sam Poulin for what it's worth. Filip Hallander's a name that needs to get an opportunity somewhere. I'm sure he's going to spend all year in the A just to get his feet wet again.
I don't know. He was playing professional hockey and excelling at professional hockey over in Europe last year. So that's, I think, the most interesting name going into training camp. Like, where do they value, like, how do they value Filip Hallander? Where do they see him right now? Do they see him as a guy that coming back over is ready for the NHL, or do they see him as a guy that is just going to slot in where he was before, which is kind of those AHL plus players, and can he then break that mold? So I don't know how the organization views him right now. I would imagine if they're signing him back from Europe and he's signing after leaving the Penguins organization to go to Europe, if he's signing, it feels like it has to be to come over and fight for a roster spot for day one. But again, who knows? Like, the Penguins organization is in a weird spot where they can make promises to prospects, but at the same time, there's other kind of mouths to feed, right? There's other things they need to do, like get the value up on some of these veterans so they can then trade them for draft capital. I don't know. His position is one that is going to be very interesting to follow from day one of training camp.
It is. It's going to be a tough one, and he'll be a tough one to follow. He'll be an interesting one to follow. It'll be tough for him to take those steps because of all these names that you could build, and that's why the AHL team is probably going to be so good. You could build a whole second team out of these youngsters.
Yeah.
If the Penguins were in a much different position, it'd be a lot of fun to see Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, one of Brian Rust or Rickard Rakell, and the rest of the lineup is these kids. That'd be a great time. I don't think Kyle Dubas has that many trades up his sleeve, but
no, and I don't think historically that's been proven to be something good for young players. Is just, hey, let's throw you all to the wolves, all of you at the same time with 2 veterans in the lineup, and that's it. That's how you get to be the Buffalo Sabres. Yeah, exactly. So, it'll be interesting on these forwards because there are a lot of them that are, you mentioned Sam Poulin. That's a name that a lot of people are forgetting. Like, what is the future for Sam Poulin?
Yeah.
It might not be anything. It might be AHL. It might be Jesse Puljujärvi. It honestly might be where he has to go over to Europe to try to find his game, or at the very least to elevate his game to a level that, earns him another opportunity at the NHL. But the forward side is interesting. There are 2 defensemen that I'm looking at, both going to play their first full season at the AHL level this year, that I would consider closer to long shots, but also wouldn't completely rule out. And that's Emil Pieniniemi and Finn Harding. I think it's more likely for Pieniniemi than it is for Harding, simply because, one, he's a left side defenseman. That left side is not deep, so that creates a unique opportunity again. But also, because of the two, Pieniniemi is the one that does have professional experience. So he has experience being in professional hockey when he was in the Finnish Liga, and then he has North American experience in the OHL last season where he scored 60 points in 60 games. Now he's going to get an opportunity to put the two together and play professional hockey in North America, starting at the Wilkes-Barre Scranton level. And if that left side has any issues, then Pieniniemi might be able to, at the very least, come up, hold down the fort for a couple games, and get that first game or maybe multiple games under his belt. Taylor Haas had a really nice piece about Pieniniemi in DK Pittsburgh Sports this week. We'll link that in the description below, talking about how coming over to North America was a interesting decision, one that not a lot of people make, but one that paid off in a big way for this young defenseman.
Yeah, it's going to pay off for him well. I am with you on. I could see both these guys being long shots as well, but giving Pieniniemi the edge for the experience that he has and probably the overall skill at the time at this moment. He's probably just a better player and more deserving, if you will, of an NHL debut this season, as opposed to continuing to wait.
I mean, again, you look at the draft pedigree. Yes, Pieniniemi, a 3rd rounder, Harding, a 7th rounder. But at the same time, Finn Harding has proven already that he's probably much better than a 7th round grade at this point. And I think that this year is going to be another opportunity for him to prove once again that, hey, I'm much better than just a 7th round pick. And I think that part of that, if the pieces fall in the right way for him, could be getting an opportunity to come to Pittsburgh and to play in an NHL game at some point this season. Again, I would consider both of these long shots. I think it's way more likely that we see Tristan Broz, way more likely that we see Avery Hayes, simply because there's more opportunities out there, right? There's 12 forwards that play every game, only 6 defensemen, or 7 if you're feeling frisky. But, there's more opportunities for forwards. And I think that also these forwards in Hayes and Broz, having the fact that they were both in the AHL last year, that just puts them a little bit further ahead than Harding and Pieniniemi.
Yeah. It's also such the way I talked about the forward core. There's a lot of logjam in the defensive core right now too. There just is. We expect some of it to be relieved, at least a little bit. But that doesn't mean it's going to open up enough spots for youngsters like them to step in, because there are those other AHL, NHL tweeners that would likely get a push maybe before a prospect, just for the sake of this season.